And how many of you guys would like to go to Mars? Just leave everything behind. You would like to go, yes, it would be great. Just leave everything behind and explore new territories. And there is one guy who can make your dreams come true. But there is one condition. The ticket to Mars is just one-way trip. So please welcome the captain of spaceship, Bas Lansdorp.
Hello everyone. Today I'm going to tell you the next chapter in the most exciting story of all times. If I have my ticket. It is the story of human exploration. Humans are very good at exploring. We've explored the Earth, and already for more than thousands of years, humans have been living on every continent of this planet. A very successful species. But what can you do after the next continent? What's the next place to go? Humans are explorers and we want to go to other places. And you and I, we live in a very special time where during our lifetime we can take the next step because the technology is available to go to Mars, to go to the next planet. And I believe that this will be the most exciting story that was ever told. I was inspired to think about Mars, to be interested in Mars when I saw the small rover in the bottom of this picture land on Mars in 1997. It's the Mars Sojourner rover, and when the images came back to Earth, for some reason that I cannot really explain, I thought, I want to go to Mars. I want to go there and explore this planet and walk around on the surface, discover new things, pick up rocks that nobody has ever picked up before, look under it, and who knows what you're going to find. You might find life, one of the most relevant scientific discoveries in the history of this planet, if we can find life in our neighboring planet. So I'm Bas Lansdorp. I'm founder of Mars One of the co-founders. I studied mechanical engineering in the Twente University in the Netherlands. After that I worked at Delft University for a couple of years. I started my first company from Delft University and worked there for 2.5 years until someone gave me the idea, the last piece of the puzzle that I needed to organize a manned mission to Mars. I sold part of my shares in my previous company to have a starting capital, and I started Mars One. Now 2 years later, we are a team of 10 people. We have advisors, we have ambassadors from all over the world, we've closed our first contract, and we have some exciting news coming up. I'll tell you a little bit more about that later. So what is unique about Mars One? We have designed a mission to Mars using only existing puzzle pieces. So we've used rocket technology that is already available. We use technology to land on the planet that has been very well tested. There is the technology to keep humans alive in extreme conditions. This is a picture of the International Space Station, a much more hostile environment than Mars. The temperature extremes are bigger, there's absolutely no atmosphere. And we've been keeping humans alive in the International Space Station for more than 11 years now. So this technology is very well understood. And there's also the technology the robotic technology that we need to prepare a human settlement to make sure that it's functioning before the humans land. So what Mars One did in the last 2 years is visit the companies that we need for this technology in the US, in Canada, in Europe, and we've talked to their engineers and their business developers, and we've discussed with them, can you build what we need? Is our schedule realistic? Is our budget realistic? And we've used their feedback to come up with a design for a Mars mission of which we really believe this is technically possible. The first contractor of Mars 1, Paragon Space Development Technology, is already under contract, so we're actually now paying the first aerospace company to start the work on our hardware. And Mars 1 is not an aerospace company. All the technology that we need is available in companies around the world, and we're not interested in developing any technology in-house. We want to purchase all the technology from aerospace suppliers around the world, which also means that if we're not happy with one supplier, we can just go to the other. So I told you that all the puzzle pieces that we need are existing technology. This puzzle piece is the return mission. Well, it was already introduced by the moderator. This puzzle piece does not exist. The technology to send humans from Mars back to Earth does not exist, while the technology to keep humans alive on Mars does exist. So we have found a very simple solution. We forget about the return journey. To a lot of people this sounds quite dramatic. Actually here I think with a technically interested audience the shock is not that big. Can I ask here who would consider a one-way mission to Mars, staying there the rest of your life? Yeah. Well, that's not too bad. Usually it's about 2–3% of the people that raise their hands, so it's quite a regular audience. I've talked to the British Interplanetary Society in London 2 weeks ago, and there it was about 50% of the audience. So it really differs per audience. So a lot of people find it very extreme to send humans to Mars without a return opportunity, but don't forget that in the first picture that I showed, the picture of the Earth and the exploration of the Earth that has happened in the past millennia and centuries. Even in the early 1900s, when people left the Earth for a different continent, they said goodbye to their families forever. They were expecting never to return. And when they wanted to communicate with their relatives back in Europe, they had to do it by letter. A letter that was transported by a ship, and it took months, or maybe the letter didn't arrive at all. The people that will go to Mars, they will have communication technology available that will put them never further away than 20 minutes from their friends and families. They can send a video message, they can WhatsApp to their friends, they can even join the discussions on Twitter, except they will have a big delay, so they might not be so up to date. But just 20 minutes compared to communicating with your friends and families by letters. So a second thing I've told you, one thing that's unique about Mars 1 is all the puzzle pieces, only existing puzzle pieces. The second thing that's unique is that we're trying to do this as internationally as possible. So this is a selection of some of our advisors and ambassadors. In the top left you can see Gerard het Hoofd, a Nobel Prize winner, who's one of our ambassadors. Next to him a Malaysian astronaut. After that an American writer. Next to the American writer is Mary Roach. You should really read her book Packing for Mars. It's a very nice book about traveling in space. Top right is Paul Rover, who's the inventor of Big Brother. So from all over the world we have advisors and ambassadors that help us to make sure that we find the weak spots in our plan and improve on them. But maybe an even more important international aspect of our project is that when we start the astronaut application process, everybody in the world will be able to apply. It doesn't matter what nation you are from. Of course you need the right skills, you need to have the right personality, but it doesn't matter where you're from. And this is very different from many other programs that have happened in the past. Everybody in the world will get a fair chance to go to Mars. Men, women, old and young. Of course you have to be over 18 to get a job, but anyone who feels that they're qualified can apply. So what does the plan look like? In 2016 we are sending a demonstration mission to Mars, a lander that will demonstrate the technology that we need to land the equipment. We will use it for 8 times for equipment, but after that we will use the same technology to land the humans on Mars, which will mean that we have a very good track record, much better, for instance, than they had in the moon landings, before we put our human beings in the capsule. In 2018, we're going to send a rover to Mars. Can you start the video? Yeah, thank you. In 2018, we're going to send a rover to Mars that's going to drive around on the surface and find the best location for the human settlement. Of course, we will already know whereabouts we want to put the settlement, but the rover will drive around and find a good spot. It has to be flat, because that makes it easier for construction. There has to be enough water in the soil, so the rover will make sure that the location that we pick is the best location. In 2020, we're going to send 6 missions to Mars, 6 cargo missions. There will be a second rover, because you need everything in twos for redundancy reasons on Mars. There will be a second supply unit with supplies for the humans that are coming 2 years later. There will be 2 living units and 2 life support units. The rovers will move all the equipment to the right location, because they will land kilometers apart. They will deploy the solar panels of the life support systems. They will put the living units in place, and they will extract the inflatable sections of the living units, which is where the humans will be living. And after that, they will activate the life support systems. They will scoop wet sand into the life support systems to produce water on Mars. And nitrogen will be filtered from the atmosphere, and oxygen will be made from the water that's just been created, and the two will be used to create a breathable atmosphere. And when it's confirmed that there is a breathable atmosphere in the habitat, when it's confirmed that everything is working, in 2022 the first humans will leave this planet and will fly to Mars. They will land in 2023, and they will find this settlement waiting for them, but there's still a lot of construction to be done. So after, of course, they have their big party, because they are now the first humans on Mars, and after we have joined them in this big party, then they will need to do a lot of construction. They will need to make the habitable settlement into their new home, because this is where they're going to spend the rest of their lives. So they will install the systems in which they will grow the plants, they will deploy more solar panels, and there's general construction to be done. For instance, the hallways that you see in between the modules need to be installed. The cargo mission that's necessary for the second crew will land together with the first crew, so they can also install all the hardware that we need for the second crew, which gives them a lot more redundancy. And finally, of course, when all this is done, they will do what they actually came for. They will explore a whole new planet. And Mars is much smaller than the Earth, but because there is no oceans, there's the same amount of land area to discover on Mars as there is on Earth. So imagine the kind of tasks that await them. Fortunately, every 2 years there's 4 more people coming, so it will be a growing settlement that has more and more capabilities. The technology to do all this exists. We can do this in the next 10 years. But then there's another really important question. How much does it cost? It will cost about $6 billion to send the first 4 people to Mars, and about $4 billion for every crew that comes after that. Now this sounds like a lot of money, and actually it is a lot of money. But imagine what will happen when humans land on Mars. When Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin landed on the moon, literally the whole world watched. Everybody who could get access to a TV, even if it meant cycling to the next village, they did it. It was probably the best watched media event ever in percentages, but in 1969 there were not so many people who had access to TV and internet. There was no internet. But in 2022 there will be 4 billion people who have access to internet. So that means that when this happens, 4 billion people, 8 billion eyeballs will be watching the same screen at the same time. And there's a lot of value in that. And imagine that the moon landings were an American event. But this will be an international event, so everybody in the world will feel part of this. Maybe it's one of your fellow countrymen who's there. So such a big event, with so many people watching, is only comparable to the Olympic Games. And the Olympic Games is the reason why I started Mars One. When I saw the revenue numbers of the Olympic Games, I decided that this could be done. The International Olympic Committee has revenues of more than $4 billion in 3 weeks of Olympic Games, in 3 weeks of broadcasting. So having a big audience can generate more than $1 billion per week. And then suddenly the 6 billion that we need for our first mission to Mars doesn't seem like so much money anymore. Mars One has now been operating for more than 2 years. I've already told you we have a team of 10 people. We have advisors from all over the world, we have ambassadors from all over the world, we have the first supplier under contract, we have a Dutch university as one of our science and education partners. It's going very well. Now there are many other people and organizations that talk about going to Mars. These organizations have sometimes very noble reasons for that. So for instance, to spare humanity the fate of the dinosaurs, or for scientific research, or to inspire